George Artemi. Correct. Welcome to the Without Limits podcast.
Thank you, mate.
This is an exciting one, not only because we are soon to be doing a collaboration together, which we'll come on to later, but I'm regularly interviewing people from the world of fitness, people from the world of entertainment. Very rarely do I get to sit down and speak to a true founder, someone from the world of business, you know, in that scrappy startup phase, fighting for every inch. And I think you're someone who, you know, very humbly and authentically shares that journey really well on socials. For anyone that doesn't know who you are the founder of RollBoys. You have done an incredible job on social media documenting the journey, and you've built an incredible brand. So I really want to dig into some of the raw stuff and the emotion of building a business, because there's many people that listen to this that maybe want to start, might be a side hustle, maybe in fitness, might not be, it might be in cinnamon rolls. So yeah, I really want to try and dig into that. You've clearly got a mindset which is about achieving. I don't know whether you've always had that or whether it's something you've kind of built over a bit of self-exploration and development. Mm-hmm. But I want to start with the question, what does Without Limits mean to you?
Well, to me, I think obviously from background of sports, that was my life when I grew up. And I kind of like understood like the work ethic that needed to go into achieving from an early age. And as I kind of got older, like came in different stages, but I really understood like really going for something without limitations, without limits when I started RollBoys. I always knew like that I kind of throughout my year has put a ceiling on myself, whether that be through like self-consciousness, like not being confident within myself. But something changed when I decided to change myself inside. And I knew like in order to kind of really break the barriers of the resistance and the what I was placing in front of myself, like I had to approach this with the mindset, okay, there's no limits to this. There's no possibilities of like, there's no ceiling here, and just go all in, go wholeheartedly all in, share and be vulnerable, be confident in yourself that you can. And then, yeah, I think once you start to see those progressions, that's where I really kind of like understood, like, okay, so yeah, there's no limitations to where I can go personally and with the business. So
I think when you following your story, you can see that, and there's been times when doors have been closed on you, but then it's like a bigger door opens almost immediately after. And I think, like I say, you've got your journey is one that I'm sure there's many ups and downs on a daily basis. We were speaking, just before about the trials and tribulations, but it's almost like it's the classic founder journey. If you just got to keep trying to find the door that will open.
Yeah, persistence.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a trait that runs through most people that are successful. Mm-hmm. You mentioned sport. I think that's always a common thread between people that I interview. Sport has been played a part in their life of some sorts. Like, was it sort of sport then into business? Have you always the work ethic has obviously been built in you within sport, but was it kind of a linear path, or did you find yourself in a period between sport and RollBoys where you were kind of like, what the fuck, what am I doing?
Yeah, like I've said, like in my life I split it up into three different areas, 3 different stages. And the first was like, obviously football was my thing. Like as a kid, grew up wanting to just be a professional footballer. And what came with that as I got older was the knockbacks, was the rejections, was like all of those little things that you face as an athlete, as a professional. And but I still remained like work ethic wise, especially like as through my teens, and that kind of built this structure, this understanding that I had this drive. And then when I got into my early 20s, like completely, for 20 to 23, I was lost. I didn't stop playing full-time football. And I was like in this position in my life where I was like lazy. I didn't know what I was doing. And like, I didn't know where I was going to go. Like came out of professional football, like almost feeling entitled, like the world owes me something. Quickly realized that that's not the case. And then the next phase came where I was 23. I had an opportunity to go into family business, run my own. It was a bar originally with food, and then turned into a nightclub with my sister. And again, that ignition lighted in me that I had like this passion and just went fully in and all in on this idea and this business throughout my 20s. And it was successful. The lifestyle wasn't for me. But again, like through that road, there was many ups and downs. And then it got to the point where I knew like I had to change, I had to leave. And I ended up leaving that business and was back in this position like, what the fuck am I doing with my life again? Like, what is happening here? Like, I'm on this journey of like self-discovery whilst also trying to figure out what's next, questioning things, but remaining like true to like those memories of that fire that ignited through football and through the business when I started. And I was like, I've got it inside of me to do something. I know I have. Like, I just have to keep going. Like, I don't have to compromise on what I want. And then ultimately I landed on the idea of RollBoys, where that ignition was lit again, and just been on that journey of continuous ups and downs, like the roller coaster of you know how it is, you know? And yeah, it's just kind of that constant reminder that it's inside of me. Like, I've got that drive, like, to keep going. I've got the persistence. I've got the resilience to battle through the hard times and embrace the good. So yeah.
Yeah, it's something I say often. It's like, you know, knowing yourself and knowing your superpowers is the one thing you can always fall back on. And so long as you've got confidence in that, particularly in business, or in any sort of endeavor that where you're trying to achieve a goal, I think that's something that people need to lean into most. You said this kind of middle period, you're working for the family business, probably making some money. It's quite successful. It's quite stable. Many people struggle to pivot in a career, you know, when they get to their late 20s and 30s, although that's usually where people start to think, you know, I've gone through the 20s. I'm trying to figure out where I sit in the world. What am I interested in? My 30s is really where I need to, you know, hunker down and start to make some headway, both in my profession, maybe in my relationships. And so this tends to be a bit of a period where people do have a bit of self-reflection and maybe, you know, divert their efforts into something else. Those people that are willing to make those changes, which can be scary, often people just sit and go, do you know what? This is the easy option. I'm going to sit with it. Comfortable salary. I can see the path ahead of me. This is the path. I'm gonna stick with it. It's made it even harder when you're in a family business. Was that difficult to step away from a family business that was successful, or was it an easy process for you?
No, I was at the lowest I've ever been. You know, when I tried to fit into the life. I tried to be somebody that I wasn't. I was good at what I did. It was a very successful place in its time, but I knew like their life just wasn't for me. Like, being surrounded like drugs, alcohol, chasing material things, like constantly was in this hamster wheel, just like more of things that just were not serving me. And it got to the point where I really knew that I needed to change. And leaving that was the most liberating feeling, because I can't speak for everyone, because certain people, I was speaking to someone yesterday who said he works with his family and it's the best thing. But for me, I knew I had to break the chain. I knew I had to go and do something of my own to really prove to myself that I can. And that was what the most liberating thing was for me when I made that decision. Like, okay, so this is it. Like, I'm taking the jump. I don't know what's around the corner. Stepping completely into the unknown. And just going to figure it out. And it took a number of years, but like you said, like I had that willingness to keep going, like to not think, oh, okay, it's easier if I just go and get a job now. You know, I was fortunate enough to be able to walk away from the business that could kind of keep me afloat financially across those years through COVID, and then a couple of years after that where I traveled. But so I was fortunate, but that wouldn't have come if I didn't put the work in previously. So I created that opportunity for myself to be able to give myself the space to figure out what was next. And then, it was a blessing to leave. It was the whole journey of like figuring it out was a blessing. And then the idea came like when my back was against the wall the most, really. And I've been running with it since.
How old were you when you left the family business?
COVID was 2020. So officially left in 2021. So I was like completely out of the business. I'd stepped away before that, but completely out of the business when I was 29. Yeah.
You mentioned there you went traveling after that.
Mm-hmm.
Was that an opportunity just to get away from the environment you found yourself in? And you're clearly a very creative person. You can see that with what you've created with RollBoys. Football, 20 to 23, and then being in the family business, being around, you know, drugs and alcohol, probably doesn't speak to the creative side of who you are. So is that something you found and you discovered in yourself in that time away?
Massively, yeah.
Talk me through, where did you go? How did you, is it
Yeah,
the classic go to Bali, figure it out?
Mate, no, it was complete, it was a crazy, like I went for 2 weeks originally to Mexico. And then when I was there, like, I don't need to go into the whole story around how it happened, but I was basically, the day before I was meant to be flying home, I was sitting in this restaurant, in this cafe in like the jungle, like with trees all around me, and just having some lunch. And I was just looking around, it's like, man, this is mad. Like, and I just all of a sudden thought, like, I could stay here. I didn't have anything to go back for, you know? And then, this woman was sat next to me on the table next to me, and I had a hat, and it said "Fully Blessed" on it. That was the brand. And she made a comment about my hat. And as you do when you're traveling or you're away, you start talking to someone. Oh, what are you doing here? Blah blah blah. It was both alone, and it got onto the topic of conversation, like of me wanting to stay. Like, yeah, I've always wanted to travel more. Like, I wanted to spend extended periods of time away. And she said something to me. She was like, well, how much are you willing to listen to yourself? And that dropped, like that hit me. And I was like, you know what? You're right. So I didn't get on the plane home. And I spent the next 7 months traveling around Mexico and the US. And that was like the beginning of that. Okay, so that self-discovery journey of like, figure out myself, find it within myself, what I'm going to do, like not put too much pressure on it, enjoy the process, like enjoy the time away, really take it in, spent a lot of time on my own, like a lot. And I wasn't doing the traditional traveling thing, like you go to parties and hostels and meeting people and that. I was very much on my own, just like doing my thing and taking care of myself and just continuing the journey of just like really working myself out and figuring out what I wanted to do, what I liked, you know, what I enjoyed, what made me tick, what made me what made me excited, and yeah, I figured that. Well, I found that that was in the stage of where I was like, okay, so I've got the creativity inside of me to like really do something of my own, and yeah, just went on that journey of just progressively, like trying.
Talk me through the self-discovery piece, right?
Yeah.
Because I think many people think they know themselves or know that they don't maybe truly know themselves, and they're caught up in maybe a version of themselves that is them trying to emulate something that they've seen, or it's maybe not truly authentic. Is it books, podcasts? Like, what were you physically doing? Being by yourself and thinking is maybe, but is there anything tangible that people can maybe attach to?
Yeah, man.
If they don't have the opportunity to go to America for 7 months, but there's maybe things that they can be doing.
I mean, I started with podcasts. I started with books, and just started to learn more about life. Like, again, this was like COVID times of when I was at home, and I started to train more, started to eat better. I just made small changes. You know, I read Atomic Habits, which is a very popular book. And the first thing out of those habits that I changed was like, get up and make my bed. And then the second one was like, brush my teeth twice a day. You know, what you think when I was in a bad place, like I didn't look after myself at all. So anything like small things like brushing teeth or cooking a meal, I just wouldn't do. You know, I did, but like, you know what I'm saying? So it wasn't like I didn't make it a habit. And then I started to introduce like small little routines in the morning that I introduced myself. Meditation was a big thing, still is to this day. Like journaling practices, and, you know, got into yoga. very much took that path. Realized that I didn't have to put myself inside a box like completely. Like I still loved sports, still loved football, I loved basketball, and just kind of like started looking after myself in smaller ways that ended up going into the macros. And at the beginning it's obviously difficult because you think, oh, I'm doing this stuff, like nothing's changing, but then like you keep going, you start to see this kind of spiral, and in a good way. And it was just those little small changes, like through books never read before in my life. Started picking up books, started listening to podcasts, watching YouTube videos, like all like stuff that was aiding my growth. And that was a big part of this transition into, I guess, who I am today.
It's power, man. I hope people hear it, because I think people read a book or listen to a podcast, or the act of the routine around whether it's brushing your teeth, making your bed, cooking a meal, and they hear it like, that sounds like it's quite easy and I should do that, but they're still not doing it, right? And they wonder why. That's the inertia that starts to build on the bigger things, as you said. The meditation and journaling things becoming more and more, I guess, front of mind for me, actually. It's something that I don't deliberately practice either. I think during COVID, I certainly meditated more because I was trying to fill my day with things that I knew were going to complement, headspace, and it was a worthwhile pursuit given I had a lot of time on my hands. But it's something that I'm guilty of, now life's busy, other things get prioritized. But I was on a panel last week with a very successful footballer and being interviewed by this great life coach, and there was an underlying theme around meditation and sort of just like stillness and opportunity to think. And it was so profound that I was like, fuck, I actually need to make space to try and do this more. Again, for someone who's quite naive to it, the different ways that it can kind of be acted out. What do you do in terms of meditation? Is it some visualization? Is it sitting with your eyes closed? Is it music? Like what?
Yeah. So I noticed out there you've got a book called Stillness is the Key by Ryan Holiday. And that is one of the books that I read, which really gave me this perspective on like actual stillness, like the mind and how it can run, and like how we're constantly on and going and going and going. But it's just kind of like giving yourself those practices in your day to kind of like give yourself space. And as a creative person, for me, like some people function differently. They like noise, they find their creative space in doing something, walking in the shower. But for me, it was just sitting with either like a lo-fi kind of like music on, no words, just I could sit there with like either eyes closed or blindfold on, with just headphones in, and just literally lie there for 20, 25, 30 minutes in that aspect. In the more meditation side, is I do sit in silence or guided, just really depending on how I feel in the day. I don't have a every day the same practice. And again, like you, I'm guilty. Sometimes I don't, life's busy, and especially with business and work, like I don't give myself the time to do it. But it is just making those small adjustments, like getting up earlier to make sure that you have that time to do that, or like blocking out some time in your day, or recognizing when you're feeling anxious or you're feeling a certain emotions that that if you sit for 5 minutes, that you'll be able to like just kind of ground yourself in those moments. And that's what I've kind of realized for myself, is that they're so important. And I have to keep reminding myself, because of how busy I am at the moment, etc., that they are the important things in my life. Making the time this morning to sit there, last night, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, nothing crazy. Just giving that little bit of space in your mind from that constant like thoughts and madness sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I'm kind of kicking myself because I heard it last week and I was like, fuck, I'm going to start to carve it out. I think like, at the moment, the thing that brings me back to, what's important in life is every time I just see my kids, like when I see how they interact with life, with no preconceptions about what they should or shouldn't be doing. It's just like this playful thing. I'm like, oh yeah, like that kind of for me is a bit of meditation, like watching them play. But I do need to create that 5-10 minutes You know, whether even starting small, I think that's the key.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Have you found that like first thing in the morning or last thing at night, do you have a preference to either one of those?
Yeah, first thing in the morning for me. Like I purposely kind of get up, and like I would make that time, whether it might only be 15 minutes, like in total, to like get up, to brush my teeth, wash my face, sit down, have 5-10 minutes, like whether guided or not, you know, and then just kind of make that time in the morning for me. And then the nighttime, like I used to have this like extended like wind down period of like, you know, I had like a long list of things, and I was just like, I had to refine it because I was almost becoming like obsessed with the routines rather than the actual practice itself. So I ended up like figuring out what works for me, and the morning is definitely my priority. And then like just in the evening time, I do try to switch off like before I go to bed, because if I'm looking at my phone, like my girlfriend is like emails until she goes to bed, and I'm like, I just can't do that. Like, because if I'm going to bed like after I've read emails or WhatsApp or Instagram, like my mind is then thinking, and that affects my sleep massively. So I try to like have that wind down period. Like it's not really an intentional, this is what I do, but like having that more wind down period in the evening definitely helps. Because sleep is massively important, and I really do get affected if my mind is running. Like wake up in the middle of the night, so I'm thinking ideas, anxieties, you know, fears, all of that. So yeah, it's just kind of figuring out. I'm still figuring out. I'm still learning how it works and how I function and what's best for me to kind of wake up in the morning fresh and ready to go again.
I mean, it's one of these cases where success leaves clues, right? And we're going to come on to talk about the success. And I think the practice that you're doing are obviously complementing why you are where you are right now. How old were you when this spark of RollBoys comes into your head? And was that the first business idea, or were you trying to ideate around how do I start a business? So I've done the nightlife, the family business. Yeah. I know that the business world is for me. Yeah. I've got the drive. Yeah. How were you starting to think of what that business was?
So I always... like hospitality is my thing. Like I've loved hospitality from when I was a kid. Going to like the US when I was a kid, and just all of that, just memories from that of being in restaurants and the service and the experience was just something that I was in awe of. And as I got older and being in like the family business, like being in that, almost like it wasn't that. Not to sound ungrateful, because I was very grateful for the opportunity, but it wasn't my idea, you know. It was my concept that I ran within a family business, but it wasn't solely something that I created. And I knew like I wanted to go into space. Hospitality was the only option for me. Like, it was the only thing, like whether it be a cafe, whether it be a restaurant, whether it be like food, it had to be like food related, because it was just something that I just felt passionately about. And when I was trying to like figure out what it was that I was going to do next, I had an idea, which was actually an idea that I came up with in COVID. I started to dabble in it, like started to like progress with it, and then realized like, okay, so no, this wasn't it. But then I pivoted to the same kind of concept, which was around food. It was actually around like oats and porridges and things like that. But it all makes sense when I get to the point of like how RollBoys began. And when I was in the US in 2020, between 2022 and 2023, there's 2 stints. I had an idea like to try and create a cafe concept. And as a creative person, like I loved that initial like, okay, so how is this going to look? What's going to be on the menu? Like, how are we going to do this? And I was creating Pinterest boards. And as I was creating Pinterest boards, doing the store, doing all the visuals, like doing all the menu items, just going wild on there, like all of these different things. I was like, this is great. But I didn't have any money. I didn't have the money to do this. And I was like, okay, so I'm running out of money as it is from the money that I took out of the family business that I was using to travel with. So I was like, I want something that I can start now. But I felt so passionately about food that I just kept on like going on Pinterest and creating these things. And then all of a sudden one day, like cinnamon rolls kept popping up on the feed. on my Pinterest feed. And I was like, it kind of is, I was going for like this healthy vibe. So cinnamon rolls wasn't really that. So but I just kept adding them. I was like, I did not know you could do all of these flavors with cinnamon rolls. I was like, this is mad. So I kept saving them. And then I ended up in Houston in Texas, where I was staying because I didn't have money for accommodation. I was doing this thing called trusted house sitters, where you go and stay with somebody when they go away, and you look after their pets and you don't have to pay for accommodation. So I was like, got lucky. I was in LA and this advert come up in Houston, and I messaged this guy. I was like, I'd love to apply. And I was like, yeah, straight away. Cool. Come, blah, 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 I'll accept you. So I managed to get a flight to Houston, got an Uber up to his house, and I went into his house, and I was there for like a few minutes. He showed me the bedroom, and he came in, and he was like, "Hi, George." Like, he's a retired airline pilot of 40 years. Like, lived in this big house, like swimming pool, Mexican guy. And he came into the room, and he was like, "So George, my plans have changed. I'm not going anywhere now." So I'm sat there, I'm like, what am I going to do? Like, is he going to like offer me to stay here? And eventually, like, he turned around and he's like, look, listen, you can stay here. Like, you're more than welcome to, if you don't mind me being around. It's completely against company policy of trusted house sitters. But I was like, you know what? Like, I've got no other choice here. So yeah, I'll stay here, look after your dogs. And then it ended up being like a really inspiring, like 2 weeks that I was there. Like, he was like a father figure in right when I needed it. Because remember, I was traveling all alone. Like, I didn't have like a support network, and I was in Houston and in the middle of this guy's house, and he's kind of like taking me under his wing. We're going to like restaurants and late night taco places, and like we're watching baseball and basketball together, and yeah, he turned entrepreneur after he retired. So he's got gyms actually. He's got a number of gyms, load of property, etc. So he's a really well-off guy. And through a number of discussions with him around what I was doing, like relationship with my dad back home and leaving the family business and wanting to do something of my own, he kind of like just sparked like this, like even further, like this drive. And one day I was in his house, and I was thinking about like these ideas that I could do, and I was like, okay, maybe I should like go back home and like do something, try something. My dad had a space in his bar that he's got in Leon C, where I'm originally from. He's got a kitchen that he wasn't using. So I called him up one day, and I said to him, Dad, I've got this idea. It wasn't cinnamon rolls. It was smash burgers. I was like, have you still got the flat griddle pan thing in the kitchen? He's like, no, I sold it. I was like, so I put the phone down. And then literally, it must have been maybe like 15 minutes later, I've just sat there, and I've like gone on the Pinterest board, and I'm like, thought about the brand, like cinnamon rolls and like one concept ideas and doing something really well, doing one thing and doing it really well. And I was like, I remembered they had this big stand mixer, and which is the mixer you need to make the dough. I was like, okay, well, let me call him back up. I was like, Dad, you still got the stand mixer, the big one? And he was like, yeah, why? It was like, I said, I've got an idea. Like, I'm gonna start a brand that sells cinnamon rolls. And he was like, what, just cinnamon rolls? And I was like, yeah, like different flavor cinnamon rolls. I was telling him about the Pinterest board and that. He was like, I said, can I use your space? And I was like, all right. I was like, cool, like, that's fine if you want to do that. Literally, man, like booked a flight 3 days later from Houston, flew into Cancun, flew back on 21st of June, 2023. And went straight into the kitchen. Like, never baked before, like never picked up a rolling pin, like just fucking went for it. Got the ingredients from a Tesco, and just got in the kitchen and started the process, like just working it out. And I knew what I wanted the product to be like, because I tried Cinnabon before in the past, and I was like, that was something memorable. And then, yeah, just like kind of just figured it out and just got going, mate. And that's kind of how it started.
Mental.
Yeah.
Were you, I mean, there's so much in that story I want to unpack, but let's just come back to the start making these cinnamon rolls.
Yeah.
Are you following a recipe? Like, how do
YouTube, man. I went onto YouTube and I typed in Cinnabon cinnamon rolls. Yeah. And I watched loads of different videos on how they do it. And then I just kept on like tweaking that. Like I had one, came out good, but wasn't great. Obviously the first one was horrendous. Like,
how did you know which bit of the ingredients or process to try and change? Or were you literally just blind?
Just blind, mate. Just blind. Literally blind. I took all of these different ways of doing it.
Were you writing down how you did it?
Yeah.
Try to change that.
Yeah, I'm not really like methodical like that. It was more just doing. So I was just figuring out, okay, so this works, this doesn't work. And then I knew that I didn't have to wait for a perfect product. I knew that I could get it to the point of where it was good and understood that it was good for market after getting feedback from friends and family, etc. And then I was like, okay, so if I take this to market, I can continue to develop it to become better and better. So that's what I did. It was 5 weeks from when I landed to when I launched. And in that time, I learned how to make cinnamon rolls. I learned how to use a rolling pin with help from my mum. Used how to make dough, and I still had no idea about how difficult dough is. And just literally, I put it down to YouTube and my mum, and just like practicing.
How many attempts at making a cinnamon roll do you think in that 5 weeks? Is it like the 10,000 hours rule? Or?
No, definitely not, man. Like, because people say I'm a perfectionist now because, you know, when you have something, you have a product and you know how you want it, you know how the customer experience you want, you know everything, and that's how it needs to be. So I'm very militant on that. But with this, I was like, I knew that I just had to get it where it was right, where it was good, that I enjoyed eating it. Friends and family were giving me good feedback on it, and just going for it, just opening the doors and just seeing what came back. So I did. And then like, obviously you get thrown curveballs. So on the first day that I was opening, like I opened like pre-order lines, you know, creating demand, etc., blah, blah, blah. That was my whole thought process. I got a load of pre-orders in, not too many, maybe like 100 rolls or something like that. Still good. Throughout the day. So I opened the pre-order lines, and on the day that I was baking them, my oven like thermometer blew up basically. So there was no temperature gauge and they burnt everything. And I just couldn't, and I had to tell people like, look, I'm really sorry, this is what happened. And then it was the following week where I had to push back the start, and I was like, okay, the next week. And as soon as like I started to give them to people, like immediate feedback was like, mate, this is great, like this is really good. And I was like, all right, well, I think I might have something here. And that just kind of just literally rolled over week by week by week. Word of mouth became a thing. Obviously, like the videos and the story and marketing people were already engaged. And then that was kind of where it kind of just went from strength to strength, just constantly improving. And then the next stage was obviously the difficulty in how the fuck do you scale this thing? So yeah.
Couple of things I want to pick up on. You mentioned you got this Pinterest of this cafe, and then all of a sudden the algorithm's feeding you cinnamon rolls. Is that literally what happened?
Yeah, bro. Yeah.
So you're now moving cinnamon rolls across onto this Pinterest board. You've obviously been in this sort of like self-discovery, yoga, health, meditation. You said that's kind of juxtaposed with cinnamon rolls. The influence of this man in Houston, and then, you know, thinking about what is there back home, whether it's the griddle pan for the burgers, you've got this mixing thing. You're clearly very passionate about cinnamon rolls now. And I think a lot of people with the trials and tribulations of business kind of give up because I'm not actually passionate about the thing that I'm doing. It's just made me some money. Maybe I was passionate then. Would you say you're passionate about cinnamon rolls now, like in this process, because you can maybe see the feeling people get and the cues that line up, and they get this thing and they're like, "Fuck, it's made my Saturday afternoon."
No, I'm passionate about being better. You know, I'm passionate about like improving like what we're doing, like not being complacent with it. And I think that's as you scale, and like obviously the thing that we was talking about, like what we was talking about before, about certain operational issues and things like that, where they might be out of your control as you grow. Like that's difficult for me because I know how important the product is. I know how important the customer experience is. I know how important like people are to this journey, like the people that work within, people that are customers, and like constantly looking at ways to improve that, you know, is something that I'm passionate about. I will sit here and say that baking was never my passion. A lot of people are surprised by that, because a lot of people get into baking because they love baking. I didn't. I got into this because I love creating. You know, I loved the creation process to bring it, and it just happened to be cinnamon rolls. Now I love the product. I can't say that I don't, because I fucking love the cinnamon rolls. But there's so much more to the business for me. Like the marketing, like these, like the collaborations, the campaigns, working with people like yourself is like inspiring for me. And that's kind of where, like, what keeps me going. Like, I really love to want to grow this thing and really stay true to the vision, and that's what's most important for me. So the cinnamon rolls is a byproduct of all of these accumulation of things that get me excited.
Let's talk a little bit more about the business and of RollBoys, because again, I've had people on this podcast that are very polished when it comes to business. You clearly have a number of skill sets, and you link it back to the hospitality, right? You understand hospitality, you understand what great service should look like, you understand the emotion you want your customers to feel.
Exactly.
And we talk, you know, people in business worry about the 10,000th customer when all they need to focus on is that first 100, you know, those first 100 pre-orders, and it just compounds from there. They tell their friends, etc. Did you have that strategy in place? Did you know, I just need to get those first 100 pre-orders, and then from those first 100 pre-orders, we're going to go to that next step and that next step and that next step. But was there any thinking around it?
No, completely unpolished. Like, there was no thinking around it. It was just doing. I was just doing and doing and doing and doing. And I was working crazy hours to get it done without question, getting up at like 3 o'clock in the morning, sometimes working through the night on my own, like, to make this happen. So I was just doing. It was the feedback that I was getting that was just giving me the motivation to continue, you know, and that I loved what I was doing, you know.
Had you put a business plan together? Had you looked at, okay, cinnamon rolls are going to cost me X, I need to sell them at Y?
No, none of that.
Did you make any money on that first 100 pre-orders? Or did you look at it? Was that the goal? Was the goal to make any money? Or was it just to
No, it really wasn't. Like, I chased the money in the nightclub, in the bar. That was like, I loved, obviously that was a different time in my life. So I had different intentions. I still was very much about the customer experience back then, but like the money that came with it was great. This was just like, I wanted to go all in on this idea that I had and just run with it. Like, I wasn't business plan. I didn't look at the costs. I wasn't thinking about like strategies and none of that. Like, even the marketing strategy, it was just, there wasn't one, because I was just doing. It was just constant like action. And that's why I look back and I'm just like, I was just continually taking action into every area, and just was like, just thinking, all right, let's go over this and see where it goes. Yeah.
Constant action. I love that. At what stage then does the sort of brand, you know, the visual identity, because you again, the perfectionist, I think, has probably come along the journey. You've certainly balanced, well, I mean, in the start, it wasn't really about a business. It was about building a brand, but you've managed to balance this kind of like idea of business, the transaction, making money, with the building of brand and feeling, you know, so much so that, you know, right now you get people queue for an hour and a half for your cinnamon rolls. Like, it's fucking unheard of. At what stage did you have to start to think, okay, how do I make this a legitimate business? Was there like a moment where you're like, oh fuck, I've done all this work, I actually fucking end up making no money? And what stage did you start to think, okay, how do I RollBoys got, so we go from cinnamon roll to actually like RollBoys?
Yeah. So it was really because obviously where I started in Essex, like that was like the kind of mini proof of concept. And then when I had the idea to bring it to London, because again, comes back to the like without limits, like why not? Like, I could see this thing has potential, so why not just go for it? So I took the leap of trying to get it to London, and I ended up having the opportunity where we ran our first residency from. And it was after Christmas, really, when we started well. not great, was doing like 200, 300 rolls a day. And it's still great, but that's a starting point. And then it was after December, like coming into January, where I thought we was going to be quiet. And towards the end of January, like the queues just started to form. Like one day, like I went outside and the queue is going like round the corner, and I'm like, what is happening here? So with all of those little pieces, all of those things, and then I was like, okay, so how long is this going to last for? Like a little bit of self-doubt in that, still to this day. But people just kept coming and coming and coming and coming. And I was still trying to do everything on my own. And I knew that I needed to get out of the kitchen. And it was then when, like February time, my sister joined as like lead baker. She'd had more home baking experience than me, so and she's very much a doer as well. So it was then where I managed to take a step away from the kitchen and start to kind of like think about this in a different way. Like, okay, so if I'm going to grow this brand, my position needs to be about the brand and be just overseeing like the quality, the experience, everything. And since then, man, like it's just kind of been this slow process of like legitimizing the business, like you said. Still very much building that out right now, like with people in, like someone in the finance side. My girlfriend Hayley in the brands and partnerships and that side, she also helps with me with like marketing stuff as well. So kind of building that out. We've got accountants now, you know, and we've got the team. We've got like 7 or 8 people actually in the front of house and the back of house team. You know, so just building these pieces out and like recognizing like, okay, so this is the foundation of a business that we can now take to the next level as we come into 2026 is exciting for me, scary, because of someone that's used to just doing everything by themselves. And now, okay, so let's have a strategy meeting, you know, let's talk about next year rather than me thinking, oh, this is a good idea, let's do that tomorrow, you know. So building some more structure around the business and actually legitimizing it that way with people and bringing in, like working with people that are truly invested and building it out that way is, we're in the process of that.
Let's come back to the cues that start to go around the corner.
Yeah.
Again, it's, once you try your cinnamon rolls, you realize, because it's like angels kissing your tongue for that fucking however long you can, you know, try and slow yourself down to eat it. But it is a bit mad that people would wait that long for a cinnamon roll. What do you think it is that you've done? Do you think it is just the product? Like, obviously, a big part of what your brand has become is how you've been able to build this story on social media. Mm-hmm. You've obviously had a number of people that have got big followings come down as well and want to get on board. Yeah. That's the cinnamon roll. It's you as the founder. Yeah. It's the brand that you've curated. What do you put it down to? Because there's a lot of people that, you know, there was no polished business plan. There was no understanding of, are we going to make any money? But there's loads of things here that people could take from it if they're that way inclined, right? They maybe get bogged down in the spreadsheets and the business plan. It stops them from starting. Yeah. But you just got started and then worked out as you went along. Yeah.
I like truly believe that people buy from people, you know, there's an emotional connection there. And I think that was my job to unintentionally, again, without strategy, was to like create that emotional connection between whether it's in store, whether it's online, you know, tell the story and they're buying why you're doing it and not what you're doing, you know. And that's what it was for me. It was like, I understood, like I was building a community of people here that weren't just coming for the cinnamon rolls. Like, you know, there was like a story to be told. Like there was this guy that had this idea that he has been on this journey to just figure it out. And some people have been there from the beginning, like seen it from day one, to see kind of where it's now. And like, just to kind of see that is amazing for me, you know. But then on the flip side of it, like you can create that story, you can create that connection. If they come and the product's not great, then, you know, it's kind of defeats the object. So for me, it was very much about the story, documenting as much as I could, you know, telling people the highs and the lows and being just transparent, honest and vulnerable. And it's relatable. You know, it's very relatable to the everyday person that might have an idea or gain some inspiration from seeing this person like going through all of these emotions, ups and downs along the journey. And I think that's what's really been the driving force, and that's what really creates the brand over the business. So that's been a very, very pivotal part. But like I said, when it comes to the product, word of mouth clearly is a very, very, very strong, probably the highest form of marketing. And the fact that people came through and the product was great, they go and tell 4 or 5 people. And then that's kind of where it spirals into this thing. And then you have the influencers, etc., blah, 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 that want a piece of it, want to come in and do their thing, which has been great. I've had some amazing people come down and do that and just, take it from strength to strength. So, yeah, I had to really get my head around like the scale of London. I'm from a small town in Essex, you know, like I'm thinking every week, all of these people coming, like, where are they coming from? Like, honestly, where are they coming? And then you hear people traveling all over the country, from different countries, like making it a priority of their journey from the US, from the Middle East, from anywhere. Bahrain, and I'm like, what are you doing here? Like, it's mad. But they're like, I've been following your journey, like, blah, 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 it's great, like, and they, we're here to try, and it's great. So yeah, accumulation of all of those things is what kind of it makes RollBoys.
You can kind of see how it happens, right? I remember like whenever I go to a new city, I'll put on. I remember I went to Paris and I put on Instagram like, where should I eat? And you get the list of like, you want something sweet, go here. You want the steak, go here. Obviously, RollBoys is going to be at the top of that list now for many people that are looking for that sweet treat. You mentioned the vulnerability. We've said it a couple of times throughout this, which does, it is part of the authentic piece of your journey. You're very open and honest when you post it, one of your reels. It's been, this has gone wrong this day, whatever. What is it actually like though behind the scenes? It seems like there's been a lot of shit that's gone wrong. For you. Have you experienced burnout? Fucking the days where you just don't want to get out of bed.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Of that. Yeah. What? Yeah. How did you overcome it? What does it feel like,
mate? To be honest with you, man, let's rewind back to this time, maybe a week and a half ago now, and I was feeling really overwhelmed. And like, I will always be honest and transparent about like these things. Like, I felt like the world was ending, and that's just the truth. And I just felt overwhelmed with all of these different things. We've now got 3 different things going simultaneously, or about to be 3 different things going simultaneously, and like I'm thinking about like the staff that I'm gonna lose to go here, and then trying to all of these questions in my head. I'm just like, what is going on? And sometimes I do give myself a hard time. I put a lot of pressure on myself, and it's uncomfortable. It's not fun. Sometimes I feel like, quitting. But I believe that there's something inside of me driving me forwards, stronger than my mind, and no matter how bad the day is, like whether how down I am, how anxious I am, how fucking depressed I'm feeling, like I know like the next day like is a new day, and it's a new day with a new approach, with a fresher mind, because like whatever you're holding on to, like you can't hold on to that for too long, because otherwise you're just going to end up like burying yourself in the ground. So I kind of like have managed to get into this space mentally where I know like whatever happens here, the next day I wake up, I know it's a new day, and we'll go again. And that's kind of been the approach. No matter how uncomfortable and how bad the feeling is, like how anxious I'm feeling, like I know I can get through it. Maybe not in the moment. In the moment, I'm feeling like fucking like it's all over. But like I said, there's this internal thing, this internal feeling that I'm just like, okay, it's cool. Like let's get this out of the way and go. The next day is ready to go. So kind of that's how I approach it.
What's the worst that's happened so far in the journey? Can you pick one moment?
Oh man. Yeah. It has to be it has to be around the product and difficulty with scaling without having bakery experience and knowledge. Where like it was week 2 and of the London residency, and I was looking at the rolls and I was just like, this ain't right. I was like, this is not right. Like, these aren't it. It's coming out like flat and dense, and I was like, there's something wrong here. We opened the doors and was serving them. I was just like this niggling feeling. I was looking at them, I was trying them over and over and again. I was like convincing myself, like trying to convince myself that it was good, but I was like, it ain't, it's not. So I had to go outside. I made the decision there and then, like, this is what I'm doing and this is what I'm sticking by, because the integrity and the quality of the product, the integrity of the brand, and for myself, you know. And I went outside and I stood in front of a line of people and I told them, like, listen, I have high standards. This product is not to where it needs to be, and I'm not going to sell it to you. And I had to face a long line of people and tell them, like, that was the case, and just be honest. And obviously there was fears and anxieties around that, and I was like, in my head. But what it was met with was this understanding and this respect that I have these standards that I'm adhering to and I'm keeping to. And it was met with like this welcoming, like, it's okay. Maybe some people might have been pissed off that they came down and was waiting in line and I turned around and said sorry. But like the majority, or at least the people that came up and spoke to me about it, was like, I really respect your decision on doing that, you know? And that was really difficult. There's obviously difficulties around like building teams and like operational stuff going wrong, and you're like, I don't know how to solve this and fix this. I need these people but yeah, that one thing was really difficult to kind of like accept in the moment and actually take action on, because it was the first time that I was faced with anything like that. But it kind of gave me this base of like understanding, like, if it's not good, and to the staff, if it's not good, it's not going out. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure it gives you renewed confidence as well when people come back the following week after making a decision like that.
Mm-hmm.
Is there, being someone who's so creative, is there areas of business that sort of stifle your creativity, that bring you down, that bog you down?
Yeah, operations, finance, managing people. Like, it's all uncomfortable stuff for me.
Is that something, obviously you need to be able to get to a stage where you can resource it to maybe offload it. Mm. Are those things that, is there anything you're trying to do to lean into it to make that easier? Or is it like, I just need to get to here to then hire the person that can look after that area?
I think the latter. I think that's what I said about like building out that senior team. The operations person in this whole business is the missing piece right now. That's how I see it right now. I have the creative, I have the finance, I have the like the brand marketing, communications. I've got somebody like taking care of like my emails and things, like making sure we're not missing anything, you know? So it's just this last operational side of things where I'm finding myself spending so much time on, that as soon as I know we're in this position in the new year, in the beginning of the year, to bring in somebody that can really grow into RollBoys and take this operational side away from me, that I will be able to like not completely step away, because when do you, but like have more time to spend on the things that I'm good at.
You can see on social media, you have, the brand's so hot right now. And so you have all these options. And as you've alluded to, it's very difficult to know what to say yes to and what to say no to. Have you got to a stage where you've got a framework or a filtering system of understanding what is a good opportunity and what's not? Like what is the lens that you're looking through as a creative that's, obviously very protective over the brand and the product? Yeah. Or do you feel you need a few more seasons of decision-making to see what's right and what's wrong?
Yeah, I think a few more seasons of decision-making. I do know based on feeling, based on where I know what I want the brand to be positioned and where I don't want it to be positioned. So there are opportunities that come up that don't feel right. We just say no, but if there's things that feel right and there's like an alignment, whether it be with the founder, whether it be with the brand itself or what the product or what they're doing, there's those kind of things that I look at So it's more based on intuition and gut, rather than like more strategically, okay, so this is good for the brand and this is why. It's more based on like a feeling right now. But to get to the point of like actually making more decisions around what's good for the business, that will come with more seasons experience, I think, with learning, okay, so this didn't quite work. So maybe we don't do that again. Or working with X brand didn't quite work out. So maybe we look at like other ways that we could work with similar brands maybe, but on a different way. So yeah, there's all of those questions, but yeah, I think that's you only gain that from the experience and figuring it out.
100%. Have you, from a more business sense, have you looked at now margins in the buns and how you can really squeeze out every bit from a financial standpoint, or is that still a bit of an afterthought?
Bit of an afterthought. Yeah, it's something that.
Is there pressure on you to be thinking?
No, I mean, I don't have like. I don't have shareholders, and I don't have a board right now. Like, I know they're all things that will be important as we grow, but like Lee, our finance guy, he's obviously, that's his area, that's his thing. So he's not pressuring me. It's all things that we speak about like, as the business grows. Like, this is what we have to pay attention to. But it's not like an immediate like get your margins sorted, work out your GPs and all of that, you know. So it's so for me, it is something that will come, and I know it's important. Like I said, I was actually speaking to somebody yesterday who's gone on this journey of starting something by himself, and it's this massive brand. And he's like, yeah, I loved the days when I could like think about a recipe, think about a sandwich and have it on the menu in a few days, like I alluded to earlier. He goes, now like there's like a 4-week, 6-week process of like getting this thing approved because of the board and the other people that are involved in the business. And I'm still in this stage, but understanding like this stage, if obviously continue to be on this path and grow, we'll end up being in that position. So I'm not trying to deny myself. I'm not trying to like bury my head in the sand. Yeah, I'm not trying to bury my head in the sand. I'm just being aware like this is like a business at the end of the day. So
I mean, you've obviously got good people around you and, you know, peers that have, as you alluded to the guy there, knowing that could be to come.
Yeah.
Is that the goal? Like, where do you want to take this?
Yeah, I always said from day one, like I want to take this as far as I possibly can, you know, without limitations. And that phrase is exactly that. I want to take this as far as I possibly can without limitations has been my phrase from day one, you know.
Is there some non-negotiables though? Do you know, because as you start to move further down that, the creativity, the decision-making, it will be influenced by the commercial side of, like, does this work? You're going to be open to that?
Yeah, I think I will know. Like, I'm going to lay it down on the table straight. Like when I started this, like, and knew that I wanted to really run with this. Like there is, and there will be a point where like it's time to walk away, to sell for a sale. So I knew that this was never going to be like my forever thing. I believe I'm too much of, and I'm also not against. I'm also open to that changing, but like that is my kind of motivation. Now that's not in my everyday thought. We need to get this to X to sell. That is not. I'm about the brand and building the brand, but also understanding that without limits, like this brand can go places, and it could be something that it might get to a stage of it where I don't want to be in this position where I'm answering to all of these people and not being able to be completely creative. And at that point, I'll know the feeling. Okay, so now it's time, because I love the creation process. So why not just build this, go all in, full-hearted, and then when the time's right, let it go, move on to the next thing. And that's kind of where my mindset is with it.
Well, I mean, what you're building is incredible. And I think it brings me on to the kind of final piece. The two girls, Fran and Lauren, bumped into you somewhere, I think maybe a train station or what happened? They came down to they came down to get in the queue.
No, I'll tell you the story.
Go on.
It was mad, right? I'm standing in St. Espresso on where we had our first residency. It was a Saturday or a Sunday morning. And these two girls walked in and I thought they might have been waiting for RollBoys, right? Because it was around the time when we would start queuing, etc. But they came in, they got coffee, and I had these tote bags, and the logo had been printed on it, and it was quite high on the bag. And I was looking at it like in front of them, and I just literally said to him, like, "Do you think this logo is like a little bit too high, or like where would you place the logo on this bag?" And we got chatting. And she didn't know they didn't know what RollBoys was. They had no idea. So I was like, "Oh, I'm George, like founder of RollBoys, etc." Blah, blah, blah. She was like, "I'm Fran, I'm Lauren, like we work at Marchon." I was like, "Really?" I was like, "Yeah, I followed Ollie for a long time now. Like, I really respect what he does, etc." And the conversation went like that. And then I think obviously we must have I showed them the Instagram or something. They followed the Instagram, and then they took their coffees and they went, and then. Yeah, literally like, I don't know however many months later, I obviously received a message from Fran and it was like,
let's do it. Yeah.
Yeah, mad.
Yeah, to be honest, that story now actually makes way more sense than my memory of it. I mean, from there, we as a supplement brand, we're looking at, ways in which we can partner with people to make something cool for our audience. And I think there's just we looked at all these big brands, whether it's Cadbury's or whatever it is, on a chocolate flavor. And the girls just said, we met George from RollBoys, we're following him. He's really onto something. The brand's gone wild. They've got these queues of people. There's something very nostalgic about the cinnamon roll flavor. We think it'd be great in a protein. And so we approached you about doing the collaboration. Yeah. Obviously came down to, I think there'll be a bit of a YouTube that might come out, but came down to St. Espresso, which was where you would have the residency at the time. Tried the goods. I mean, I actually had to try my hand at making them. You taught me how to make them. I think I did all right.
You did a good job, mate.
And they're quite truly exquisite, mate. You're really onto something. So it's led to where we are today, which is releasing a RollBoys Marchon collaboration on a whey protein, which is at the point of recording this, we are 27th of November. I think we're going to be releasing this sometime over the next couple of weeks.
Yes, sir.
Do you have any, obviously it's your first time doing a partnership of this sort. Again, I don't think you're necessarily someone that thinks about the end goal or what the byproduct of this is. It just feels right to you and it's quite exciting. Have you got any hopes for how this goes down?
Well, just on that point, man, when we spoke about it earlier, knowing what's yes and what's no, instantly when that came in, it was it was an instant yes from me. There was no question in it. I was like, this is a brand that I've been following, I know about. People talk about you and yourself as the founder and your journey and your obviously community that you've built. And I was like, this is the kind of brand that is a fuck yes, and it really excited me about the idea of doing something in a different space, and I was like, yeah, this is what feels right for me, and I'm really glad that we've been able to kind of find out all the pieces and bring it together. Hopes where this can go, yeah, man. I don't think you will be, but people might be surprised about the amount of athletes that come, about the amount of athletes, runners that run to RollBoys on a weekend day and are standing there sweating standing in line. And I was putting those pieces together and I was like, we have an audience here that love to train. They love to enjoy sweet treats. They love to look after themselves. They come here, they work out. We've had a number of different approaches for run clubs and things like that, and and also tying back to my past, you know, my history in sports, and I was always athletic, and I knew like there was this almost like aligned potential to make something really cool and great, and yeah, looking at the packaging, like the product when it came to me the other day, I was like, I opened it and I was like, yeah, this is sick. Yeah.
I think that you're completely right. There's something, I don't know whether it's happened over the last few years or whether just people's attitude towards this intersect of health and fitness, but also like integrating with like an enjoyment around life and the rituals that are the most important thing. You go on the run with that person because you're trying to get in shape, you want to lose some weight, you want to get fitter, but actually then the breaking of bread and the connection when you're having the coffee and the sweet treat is the icing on the cake. And I think that's something that like many people, particularly in the old school world of fitness, would have seen there's this real juxtaposition between like, I can only have that on my cheat day, or I can only have that when I'm being bad. But I actually think now this word of like, call it balance, call it whatever else, just I guess people just a bit more maturing around what we put on our bodies, the 80-20 rule, you know, the ability to enjoy yourself, but still be disciplined around nutrition. Same with your relationships, same with the way you organize all of your life. There needs to be an element of fun alongside the discipline. And so I think there was that. And yeah, we are the muse, we are the consumer. We know that, you know, we'll go on a bike ride and have a, you know, stop off and get that sweet treat to, you know, to fuel ourselves, or we'll go on the run and get the cinnamon roll afterwards. So the opportunity to work with a great founder such as yourself, like I said, what you're documenting online is so unique, and there's so many people doing good things online, but when you get someone that's cutting through noise because it's pure, you know, it's unique, it's creative. You know, the storytelling you were doing about moving home, I thought that was just, it was just incredible. Tying that to a product which is nostalgic and, you know, culturally so relevant in the space right now, and us having the opportunity to sort of bring those two worlds together is so cool. And I'm just hoping that the communities across both sides can really, you know, enjoy that product. It can become part of their ritual. We've got a couple of launch events as well, which are going to be really cool to see unfold. So
yeah, man, very, very excited about it, man.
Special times, mate. That's all I got for you. That's been incredible. You know, from one founder to another, I know you're on your journey. You're building in a very authentic way. I don't think there'll ever be a wrong decision, even if it's a learning. And from what we were talking about in the car on the way here, there's some very exciting things up and coming. So this is going to be a brand that's going to go to the moon. So best of luck.
Appreciate you, man.
Thank you, brother.
Cheers, bro.